Brothers and sisters, we are rapidly closing in on the termination point of this god-awful round of speeches in paired couplets. And I've got to say that I'm quite glad the only people who attempt this sort of thing these days are rap artists, and I've just never found those creative outpourings to be all that coherent, a problem that also seems to plague this ancient book. At any rate, the unmistakable impression one gets from reading through this dense tangle is that everyone's temper is rising steadily, and Job in particular is about ready to blow a gasket. I don't know whether or not Eliphaz the Temanitic asshole realizes it yet or not, but this will be his last say, and then it's good riddance to that judgmental prig. I've never met a Temanite I felt I could trust any farther than I could throw him. Steel yourself, things are going to get ugly. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, Can a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable unto himself? Is it any pleasure to the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it gain to him that thou makest thy ways perfect? Will he reprove thee for fear of thee? Will he enter with thee into judgment? Is not thy wickedness great, and thine iniquities infinite? For thou hast taken a pledge from thy brother for naught, and stripped the naked of their clothing. Thou hast not given water to the weary to drink, and thou hast withholden bread from the hungry. But as for the mighty man, he had the earth, and the honorable man dwelt in it. Thou hast sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless have been broken. Therefore snares are round about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee, or darkness that thou canst not see, and abundance of waters cover thee. Is not God in the height of heaven? And behold the height of the stars, how high they are. And thou sayest, How doth God know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? Thick clouds are a covering to him that he seeth not, and he walketh in the circuit of heaven. Hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overflown with a flood, which said unto God, Depart from us, and what can the Almighty do for them? Yet he filled their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from me. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn. Whereas our substance is not cut down, but the remnant of them the fire consumeth. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee. Receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacles. Then shalt thou lay up gold as dust, and the gold of Ophir as the stones of the brooks. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. For then shalt thou have thy delight in the Almighty, and shalt lift up thy face unto God. Thou shalt make thy prayer unto him, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt pay thy vows. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee, and the light shall shine upon thy ways. When men are cast down, then thou shalt say, There is lifting up, and he shall save the humble person. He shall deliver the island of the innocent, and it is delivered by the pureness of thine hands. In other words, just give your heart to Jesus, and everything will be all right. Man, I'm glad we've heard the last of this guy. There's not a party in the world that could survive a guest of that caliber. Then Job answered and said, Even today is my complaint bitter. My stroke is heavier than my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, and that I might come even to his seat. I would order my cause before him, and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know the words which he would answer me, and understand what he would say unto me. Will he plead against me with his great power? No, but he would put strength in me. There the righteous might dispute with him, so should I be delivered forever from my judge. Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand, where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him, but he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. I heard that last verse quoted quite a lot in splendid cherry-picked isolation when I was a kid from some well-meaning authority figure or another who was trying to assure me at one of the many low points in my life that all my misery was just God refining me as gold, and that one day I would shine forth the polished gem of the Lord's gentle ministrations. What those authority figures never bothered to quote was the verses that precede it, that set it in a context that clarifies its actual meaning. May I revisit them? Behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backward, but I cannot perceive him. On the left hand where he doth work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, that I cannot see him. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. I don't know if you're left with the same impression I have, but that's just a little creepy. Job knows he's being spied on 24/7, but no matter which way he turns to try to catch a glimpse of the peeping Tom in the act, he never sees him. But there's no doubt in his mind, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good. That paranoid frame of mind, like it or not, is promulgated by Christian teachings of an omniscient deity who has numbered the very hairs on your head. This is an ancient horror that apparently will never go away. I only wish I could assure everyone that they can just relax. There's no eye in the sky watching them. My foot hath held his steps. His way have I kept and not declined. Neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is in one mind, and who can turn him? And what his soul desireth, even that he doeth. For he performeth the thing that is appointed for me, and many such things are with him. Therefore am I troubled at his presence. When I consider, I am afraid of him. I would be too, Job. You believed in an absolute horror 3,000 years ago, an imaginary horror that was taught you by the priests and prophets who defiled your age. 3 millennia later, and they're still going at it, strong as ever, raking in the cash for the glory of a hallucinated God. They are the curse of our species, a self-inflicted curse, laid on us only by the gods and devils inside our own heads. For God maketh my heart soft, and the Almighty troubleth me, because I was not cut off before the darkness, neither hath he covered the darkness from my face. Why, seeing times are not hidden from the Almighty, do they that know him not see his days? Some remove the landmarks, they violently take away flocks and feed thereof. They drive away the ass of the fatherless. They take the widow's ox for a pledge. They turn the needy out of the way. The poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, as wild asses in the desert, they go forth to their work, rising betimes for a prey. The wilderness yieldeth food for them and for their children. They reap every one his corn in the field, and they gather the vintage of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and embrace the rock for want of a shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast, and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheaf from the hungry, which maketh oil within their walls, and tread their winepresses, and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded crieth out, yet God layeth not folly to them. They are of those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the paths thereof. The murderer rising with the light killeth the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, saying, No eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. In the dark they dig through houses which they had marked for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. For mourning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift as the waters, their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyards. Drought and heat consume the snow waters, so doth the grave those which have sinned. The womb shall forget him, the worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree. He evil entreateth the barren that beareth not, and doeth not good to the widow. He draweth also the mighty with his power. He riseth up, and no man is sure of life. Though it be given him to be in safety whereon he resteth, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. And if it be not so now, who will make me a liar, and make my speech worth nothing? If I had a time machine and could travel back to the land of Uz, circa 1000 BCE, I'd try to find out if there actually was a man living there at that time who went by the name of Job, whose wealth and influence and piety were so celebrated, but upon whom had fallen spectacular calamities, so dire and ruinous that everyone who knew about it had come to the same conclusion, that this outwardly decent man was in fact harboring secret sin that had finally found him out, and God was torturing him for it. I try to locate that man and maybe use a taser on that damned Temanite and that accursed Shuhite and that miserable, worthless Naamathite, and take poor Job down to the bar and get him good and drunk and receptive, and then share with him the good news that there is no God and there is no devil to make a bet with that God, and all those awful things that ruined his life were just due to bad luck and the kind of cruel shit that we apes seem hell-bent on inflicting on each other, and along with some extreme natural weather phenomenon working on a house that was a ramshackle piece of mud brick shit to begin with. At least he would then be able to face the world squarely and with understanding, and perhaps make his life a little more bearable with an enlarged perspective. And he could finally stop trying to make everything rhyme.